When we were first invited here by Hilda and Bev to investigate this site, I don't think any of us could have predicted just what this dig would unearth. But it looks like one of the trenches in the woods may be about to give Mick another thing to tick off his potential monastery list. Over here, we've got what Hilda and Bev originally thought was maybe a shieling, a sheep pen, something like that, although Stuart thought that it might be a bit more complex than that. How are you doing, Raksha?
Well, if she came here this morning, it looked like a big jumble of stones, but we now have something a lot more substantial. We have these absolutely great big socking double skin walls coming through, which doesn't really go with a shieling.
So it's not a shieling or a sheep pen or whatever, because it's just there's too much of it.
There's too much of it. It looks rather complex. It's just very strange because it kind of comes round through there, and then we have this other thing coming through just through here, which we think is a cell.
A cell? That sounds monastic, doesn't it? This twin-celled building may not be the final piece of the jigsaw, but it really does look like the sort of simple dwelling used by monks on early monastery sites across the Western Isles. And they all have one thing in common: the influence of the late 6th century monk, Columba. You do realise I've been pinching your book systematically for the last 3 days?
I notice you with your nose deep in a book on Celtic Christianity or something.
That's the kind of guy I am.
Yeah.
What struck me most was that Columba, who lived, what, 1,500 years ago, if not more, you'd have thought he would be lost in the mists of time, but a real strong character comes across.
Yeah, and we only get that because with some of these saints, somebody fairly soon after they died wrote what's called a life. And in this case, it's a chap called Adomnan, who was the later abbot of Iona. And he clearly spoke to people who knew Columba. So then he puts this life story together. And it's fantastic, the stuff in it.
He was a child prodigy.
Yep.
All the other monks where he was training doted on him. He had a really good education.
Yep.
He was very tall. He had a very loud voice, which I would have thought would have been very irritating.
I think that'd be very useful dealing with a load of monks on different islands.
And the thing that strikes me so much about Columba is that although, in a sense, he was living this really freezing cold existence in his monk's cell, he was also using his status to go all round Scotland, sorting out problems, getting the whole area unified.
Yeah, we know from the life that he went to various islands, he set up other monasteries on those islands. We know the names of some of them. We suspect there are others we don't know the names of. It's very difficult to locate a lot of them.
But if there was a monastery here, surely we would know about it. Surely it would be in the monks' annals.
Not necessarily. We know that Iona has, probably on Mull, in the later Middle Ages, had a whole series of properties down the north and west side of the island. But whether they were there earlier on, if they are, they're not mentioned. And that's your problem, you see. It's nothing like as easy as down in England.